We have hands up from the young people. Yes.
Russia isn't bad, it's just Putin. He's forcing them to do this.
Russia isn't bad, it's just Putin. Yes, I agree with you. Dobro Nanya. Good afternoon. I'm honored to join the governor and my colleague in the United States Senate, Senator Booker. I'm honored to be back to the Ukrainian Center. I was honored here in 2015. I wish I was here for a different reason today. In 2014, I was in Ukraine when Russia invaded Crimea. And then I called for strong sanctions and consequences. Unfortunately, the West did not do what should have been done then, and it was a mere slap on the wrist. That's when I passed the Ukraine Freedom Support Act that became law, for which you honored me. Today, we are committed to continue our fight on behalf of Ukraine. As some of you may or may not know, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee has jurisdiction over all arms sales and transfers. So what we have done, we've urged the administration to give us whatever they are seeking to sell or transfer from another country, because if we have an American arms in Poland or anywhere else to transfer to another country, there must be an approval process. I have streamlined that approval process, which normally takes months, and $1 billion has already been approved to move to Ukraine in Stinger missiles, in Javelin missiles, and I have told the President that we stand ready to approve in record time whatever is necessary to send to Ukraine for Ukraine to succeed in its fight for freedom. So, secondly, about a month and a half ago, I called for a major package for Ukraine. I am very pleased to see the President ask Congress for $10 billion to Ukraine, both in defensive lethal equipment as well as in humanitarian assistance. And I have urged the Senate and House leadership to bring it to a floor, bring it to a vote, so we can get it onwards to Ukraine as well. I was honored to be, along with Senator Booker, on a Zoom meeting with President Zelensky this morning. He is an incredibly heroic, courageous leader of the people of Ukraine. We should all be very proud. And while he spoke about his thanks for many of the things we have done, he also spoke about what he needed. So after that meeting, I put out a statement that aircraft from Poland and other neighboring countries, fighter jets, should be transferred to Ukraine, and we will backfill the United I was the first person to call upon the President to issue temporary protective status for those Ukrainians who are here, and I am very proud to see the President has done that. Over 30,000 Ukrainians are in the United States who will not have to go back because they will have a temporary protective status in the United States. And I want you to know that as we have worked with some of you already, my office has one of the best immigration practices. So we can work with whoever may have a family member or loved one who is seeking to be reunited. And we are going to call upon the administration to look at how we issue visas in this regard, so that, as the governor said, willing to take Ukrainian refugees. My family are Cuban refugees. I understand what refugee is all about. We need to accept Ukrainian refugees into the United States as well. And most importantly, we need to give Ukraine what it needs so that it can continue to be a sovereign, independent, free country of its own choice, of its own making, of its own future. And so you have my hand in friendship and the power of my office to do exactly that. Thank you very much.
It was an honor to be here. It is unfortunate to be here under these circumstances. I'm honored to stand with each and every one of you, and as I look at these incredible young people, I am filled with hope for our future despite how dark these days are. I stand on the stage with great people. We have a governor that has distinguished himself internationally for his willingness to stand and fight in difficult times, and his commitment I've seen during crisis, whether it's, as he mentioned, Afghanistan, or even humanitarian support during other crises around the world. Right now, his leadership is key in making sure that New Jersey is the #1 state in America and standing with Ukraine, and I'm proud of that. Second of all, for those of you who do not know the highways and byways of Washington, D.C., New Jersey has, as its senior senator in Bob Menendez, one of the 8 most important people in the United States when it comes to shaping foreign policy. He's not here just when a crisis arises. He was here supporting the Ukrainian community far before it became a national issue. We understood for a long time, and thanks to his leadership, the threat of Putin, his despotism, his war crimes. And this is why I'm grateful that we have had a fighter for Ukraine leading the Foreign Relations Committee for years and years now in Bob Menendez, and his leadership now is critical for us beating Putin back from this oppressive and unwarranted act. Would you please give one more round of applause for Bob Menendez? And so I have to say, I stand here with a heavy heart as you all do. I look at these children and it immediately makes me think about the young people in Ukraine. We have seen horrific loss of lives, indiscriminate bombing of apartment buildings and schools where civilians are dying and fleeing for their lives. I know something of the courage of the Ukrainian people. After the horrific annexation of Crimea, I flew to Ukraine. I stood in 2017 near the line of contact, about an hour away, with military leaders in a basement, meeting with them, and feeling in my own spirit their grit and their guts to defend their country. Ukrainians dying for their nation didn't start with this awful invasion. The conflict has been going on for years. I visited with the mayor in Dnipro. And as soon as I walked in his office, I was moved because he had tchotchkes all over his office with red, white, and blue. He had a picture of an American president displayed on his wall because he knew something that you all know, that you all live, that is evident in your DNA, which is the intrinsic connection between the Ukrainian people and the American people. That we stand together. That we stand together for self-determination, for freedom, for liberty. We stand together for democracy. And if there's anything that history teaches us, that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If we allow Ukraine to fall to the despot Putin, it is not just a tragedy for one nation, it is a tragedy for all democratic peoples in this world. We have seen what dictators do when we do not stand against them. We learned it in World War II, and we must not repeat the mistakes of the past. And so I stand with my senior senator, New Jersey's best, Bob Menendez. We will do everything that we can. One is amplifying your voices, making sure that the generosity that this community has shown, that we find a way to connect the resources you all have gathered with the people that need it. We will work toward that end. We will do everything we can to prevent the Russians from gaining air support superiority by supporting efforts to get them offensive capabilities both in the sky and in terms of missiles. We will do everything we can. As the governor has already shown, to cripple Russia economically. We must continue efforts. And as Bob Menendez is leading the efforts to try to coordinate with our allies the stopping of buying oil from Russia, we will try in every way possible to get this done. And I end with this. We are New Jersey. We are part of a great nation, but there's something I know about New Jersey's strength. This is the area where we had the Battle of Trenton that turned the tide in the Revolutionary War. This is the state that has endured tragedies, not just here in our own country, in our own state, but we've stood to help our nation fight back tragedies in every major war of our country. There's something special about this state that I love, and it's in this room right now. We have a toughness, we have a grit, and we know that when we stand together, when we unify others through empathy and compassion and love, that we, this small group, though small as we are, that we can make this a safer, stronger world. That is the spirit that's necessary. I do not want to in any way candy coat this, because you all know it. This crisis is not going to go away today or tomorrow or next week. I wish I could tell you that there would be a quick diplomatic resolution. That's what we'll work for, that's what we'll pray for, but this might be one of those moments again in our state that's going to call for our continued resilience, not to let this disappear from the headlines because America gets tired of reading about the crisis. We have to have endurance in this fight. We have to keep people focused on this injustice. We have to have the determination and resiliency to stay at this effort for as long as it takes. Putin will not win, and I believe that the spirit and the strength in this room and in the New Jersey Ukrainian community, we can play a pivotal role in making sure that Putin regrets the day that he ever challenged the great and glorious country of Ukraine.
It's a little bit difficult to speak after that. I just wanted to thank you gentlemen so much, not just for your presence today, which is obvious, but as you've underscored, your long-term and ongoing understanding of Ukraine, understanding of the crisis that our people live today and have lived for decades, if not centuries, and for your ongoing support for us. We will be free again, and we know that that the United States stands with us. We are Ukrainians, but we are also Ukrainian Americans, and for that we'd like to stand and sing our national anthem, please.